Welcome, Wich, to the Vegan Champion podcast. How are you today?
Hi, Jason. I'm good, and I'm excited to be here.
Excited to have you. You are coming at us from Bangkok. I'm here in Toronto, other sides of the planet, Bangkok, Thailand. What's happening in Bangkok? How's the weather in Bangkok today?
Oh, it's scorching, like usual, and we're kind of like in the middle, not really in the middle, but like slightly after the middle of summer, so it's still really hot here.
Is there durian right now? Is it durian season?
Yeah, yeah. My mom bought a whole lot of durians, and yeah, she brought a whole bunch for me. I know it's not for everybody, but I like it.
I
Please
love
don't
it.
judge.
I love durian's like my favorite. Like I say all the time.
Right.
Like
I
literally.
think it's just like a kind of fruit that you love it or you hate it. There's
Yeah,
nothing kind of like in between.
absolutely. And I think if you don't have good durian, like if you have durian that is bad, not high quality durian, even if you like durian, that's not nice. That's not nice. But if you
Right.
if you get really
Absolutely.
really good durian, I'm actually a firm believer that if you get like really high quality durian, even many people who think they don't like durian, they actually would like it if you gave them like the really best, like, like
Yeah.
when you get that like one that is just like, oh man, like this is
Have
so
you
good.
seen have you seen a person who changed their mind with your own eyes?
That's a
Like a
good
person
question.
who like hated durian before, and then when they got a really good quality durian, they changed their mind.
Yes, I went to
Yeah.
I went to I was just trying to think honestly, because I actually say this a lot, and I was trying to think, okay, can I think of an example? And I can. I remember
That's fun.
all I had to think was the Woodstock Fruit Festival. I don't know if you ever heard of the Woodstock Fruit Festival.
No, where is that?
So it's in New York State, not New York City. And
Okay.
I remember going back in 2012 and 2013. And what they do is they get a big truck of Thai durian that are frozen durian that are imported. And then they put them out. Like these people all are like fruitarians. Like they all only eat fruit, and a lot of them really love durian. So they'll order in like literally truckloads of frozen fruit, right, and stuff like that. So they've got all this durian. And I remember there were so many people there, and it's like, well, for the most part, it's all like North American people who are not familiar with durian very much, right? Like there are some people who really love it, but I remember so many people who, they tried it. And I remember being at the festival, and people were just eating durian all the time. And there would be people who would be like, oh no, I don't like it. I don't like it. I tried one, I didn't like it. And everybody would just keep saying, look, you have to get a good one. So like when we would be eating them, right, we'd be like, oh my God, it's a good one. Like, does anybody need to try durian, right? And it'd just be a matter of like somebody having a good one. And then as soon as they did, they were hooked. I saw that happen many times. So I'm a firm believer.
Oh wow, yeah, interesting. I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
Thanks for telling me about that.
I love durian, and I miss it about Thailand. I miss many things about Thailand. So I'm kind of jealous, but I'm kind of like grateful. I love Canada as well. So I always like miss the other place wherever I go. But for people who don't know, who you are, Wich, why don't you give us a little bit of information about yourself and tell us about, what made you initially go vegan? Who were you before becoming vegan?
Right, okay, so let's start with my name. So people call me Witch, but my actual name is Wichayapat. Like for a while, I forced people to say my full name.
Yeah.
But then, yes, somebody just came up with this short version that I like. So people call me Witch.
Cool.
And yeah, I was born in Thailand. I lived here. I've lived here for almost all my life. There were a 2 year gap in which I lived in the US, and that's where I went vegan. But I would like to think that the story started way long before that. It's a long process for me to become a vegan. So I think I first started making a connection between live animals and the piece of meat that I was eating when I was 7 or 8 year old. Also, when I watched a movie that is called Babe. I'm sure like a lot of people has heard of the movie. It's
Babe.
just such a cute, yeah, it's just such a cute movie. So I was just watching the movie while eating a piece of pig. Actually, yeah, I mean, it's disgusting talking about it right now, but yeah, I mean, I was born like many people, I didn't know that there was a choice for me not to eat animals. So I
Right.
was eating a piece of meat, watching Babe. I was just admiring how cute the pig is in the movie, but then my sister, she just would like to tease me, and like sisters are mean to each other,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And she said something like, "Oh, so if you think pigs are cute, why are you eating them?" Yeah, I think that was the first time that I made the connection, but I was just a kid. Like I made the connection, but I didn't have the power to change anything. I had to eat what my mom cooked, otherwise I went starve. You know?
And your sister wasn't an animal rights activist, was she?
No, she was just trying to be mean to me. No, she was not an animal rights activist at all. I don't think at that point in time in Thailand, I don't think there was any animal rights activists. Maybe there are activists for like um for animals that people love more, like dogs and cats and wild animals, but definitely not for farm animals. That was like 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago.
Right.
So
So so
I don't think that was
you
it.
watch Babe, and you're eating a pig while watching it, and that your sister
Yeah.
says this thing to you, and that makes you uncomfortable. And then so what happened after that? Did you stop eating, did you stop eating pigs
No, I
after that, or?
didn't. No, I didn't. Sadly, I didn't. I mean, but I like it would be like it would stuck to me, and then I would keep thinking that one day I'm gonna become a vegetarian as a kid. Like,
One day.
I didn't even know the word vegan.
Mm,
Um, and then when I was in college, I stopped eating land animals. I know that sounds horrible. I should have just stopped eating animals altogether, but I was not clever enough at that point, and I was just in a developmental stage, and that's the level of connection I could do at that time.
mm-hmm.
um, so I stopped eating land animals, and then I always like it was always on my mind that I would like to stop eating animals altogether. This is the right thing to do, but I just couldn't do it. I think largely because there was nobody else around me that was vegetarian or vegan, and I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So like there was no support group. When I was in college, there was no Challenge 22.
Mm-hmm.
There was nobody I could turn to, pretty much. And maybe there was internet, but I didn't know that I could look up veganism or vegetarianism on the internet, so I didn't do that. Um, so yeah, it took me long before that. And then I went to study in the US. I think that was 4 years after I stopped eating land animals. And
So
then,
so
yeah,
what year would that, sorry, which what kind of year would that have been when you stopped eating land animals, and then what year did you go to the US?
oh gosh, it's such a
Approx.
long time ago.
Yeah.
So when I was in the second year in college, that must be seven. So 7, 8. No, I'm 30. And when you are in second year in college, you're kind of 90. So that's like 10, 11 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, so 2000, yeah, 2010. Yeah, so that's around, yeah, that's the same time that I'm just trying to think, cuz you mentioned about like community, basically, right? Lack of
Yeah.
community. And
In Thailand.
yeah, we've made, like, I'm just thinking about in Canada, cuz I mean, I remember when I first went vegetarian, which was maybe I was like 14, so we're the same age. So I was maybe like 14 in Canada. So 6 years before that in Canada, it was probably, I don't know, like, I don't know if you could even compare it. Like I relate to your experience, because I remember like thinking like, this is wrong, but like, what's going on? There's like, I can't find anybody. Like there were some people who would do it for religious reasons, but they wouldn't really be like connected with, really wanting to, I don't know. Well, some of them would be, but it's, yeah, it's difficult, and it's, I think, a lot easier now. I think there's a lot more community now for
Yeah.
people. So so you went to the US, and so this would have been what, 2014 or so. You go to study in the US. And
2014.
so where were you in the US? What were you studying?
So I was in Philadelphia and I studied education. And then, so I learned about veganism when I was in the US. I never heard of this word before. I didn't know what it means. I didn't know what's wrong with, I hadn't know what's wrong with eggs and milk until I went to the US and met a person who has been vegan for maybe, I don't know, 5-6 years. And then he told me why he doesn't eat eggs or milk at all. Yeah, that was the first time when I heard about milk chicks being thrown into a grinder because they are not profitable for egg industry. And I just remember I was angry that nobody had told me before. I was angry, like, how the hell did I not know about this before? And then I was really sad. So I decided I had to stop. I think it was easy for me at that point because it was always on my mind that I don't want to hurt animals. I want to be a vegetarian. So when I heard about this fact, it was so easy for me to decide, okay, I'm gonna stop eating eggs or milk or anything that comes from animals.
I'm curious.
It took me. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No,
It took you.
I was gonna say that it took me like a week or two after that to transition.
Yeah,
I was vegan. Yeah.
It's got to sink in sometimes. I think. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious as to your response. Like it sounds like you're the kind of person who, like, even going back to your sister, when your sister said that to you about eating pigs, if you love pigs so much, if you think pig or whatever it was, what did you say?
I didn't say anything. I was done.
No, sorry, your sister. I mean, your sister. She said what? If you love pigs, or if you think pigs are cute, or something like that. If you think that, then why do you eat them, right? And so at that point, like even going back to that point, and then when you see the chicks being thrown into grinders, like at all of these stages where you're kind of having these moments of realization, I'm curious as to did you in that moment, did you kind of lash out at the person who was revealing the information to you, or did you take it more upon yourself?
I don't ever remember lashing out to the person who was giving that information to me though. Like when my sister asked me, I was kind of like, I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. And I was not angry at her. And when I was in the US and when this person revealed to me about what happened to male chicks in egg industry, I was not angry at him as well. I was just angry at the way it is, and I was angry at myself actually. Like, why hadn't I known about this before? Why had nobody told me? Like, just angry at people in general that like maybe at the education system that lied to me for my whole life pretty much. But no, I was not angry at that person who gave me the information because I asked, He didn't just like walk into the kitchen while I was drinking a glass of milk or eating eggs and say something like, hey, do you know what's wrong with eggs? Something kind of like that. He didn't do that. I asked him why he doesn't eat eggs, and then he gave me that information. So I wasn't angry.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated because I like, the way that people respond to the things I say, people respond differently. And I wonder how much the way you respond depends on you and how much it depends on the way that the other person told you about it or the way that you heard about it. Like maybe you're just the kind of person who is, you take responsibility for, aligning your actions with your values, and you take responsibility for forming your own values. And when it comes to other people providing input, it's like, oh, that's interesting. I'm going to consider that rather than, oh, I'm going to blame that person for making me feel uncomfortable or for like making, being preachy or whatever. I wonder, I often wonder, what that balance really looks like. How much of it is how somebody's exposed to the message and how somebody is just how the nature of the person receiving the message. But it sounds like you have the odds stacked in your favor to, no matter who's telling you, you were inevitably led on this path. And sometimes I like to believe that everybody is on this path and will eventually get to being vegan. But obviously, so to continue, you learned about the chicks being ground up because, as you sort of just mentioned the story, you asked about it. Like how did that all go down? Like, tell us. You said you're angry. You wish that you would have known this stuff before. You're angry with people who had, kind of told you lies. So yeah, what happens from there?
Then I decided I had to stop eating all animal products. I don't like. I've intended to stop using that word because they're not products. But okay, I intend to stop eating any products that come from animals' bodies altogether. And it was easy for me because I had a friend who was vegan, so I have the information. And then I know how to do some research on the internet. So now I have tools. So I started the transition process right away. I stopped buying animal product. I stopped buying products from animals. I have to tell myself not to use them.
So wait, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. So what is that? What is your philosophy for not saying animal products, but instead?
Because they're not products. They're not products. They're individuals. They're non-human animals, and they're not products. When you say like animal product, it sounds different. Animal products and products that come from animals. Because when you say animal products, it kind of like you kind of imply that they were born to be products. But if you say products that come from animals, it sounds more like, so they're non-human animals, they're individuals, but they are just made into products against their will. That's it.
I like that. I think I'm going to try my best to implement that as well.
It's hard. I caught myself saying like animal product all the time. Just have to stop.
Just on that topic, to put a little aside here, it really is interesting because people talk about it a lot. Like, I mean, I don't know, are you in a lot of, kind of the Facebook groups, people, vegan Facebook groups, people talking about activism or like, discussions people have about how we advocate. There's often people who are, nitpicking about the words that we use. And I have mixed emotions about that. Like sometimes I'm like, man, like, they got a good point. Or sometimes like, oh, come on, like they're just being too picky. But, I think it is important, right? The language you use.
Language is so powerful. So I think it's very important that we pay attention to the way we speak. I've changed my mind in a lot of things about the way I speak. So yeah, it sounds like it's not very important at all, but it's so powerful.
What are some of the other things you hear people saying often? Like if you could listen in, or when you do get a chance to, look at comment sections or listen in on people who are advocating for animal rights.
Like pet.
The word pet.
Yeah, let's just stop saying pet. Like companion animals, non-human animal companions, whatever. There are words for to call animals that we adopt and embrace them as a family member, not pet. Yeah, I think that's one example I can think on the top of my head at this time.
I agree. I agree with that.
Maybe meat. I mean, among animal rights activists, nobody should even say this word anymore, meat. I mean, if you're talking to like your non-vegan friends, a non-vegan family member, and you just don't feel like advocating at the moment, it might be okay just to say meat, just to kind of like be tolerant about it, like just not trying to like get yourself into trouble when you're just trying to chill with your friends and family, But like among animal rights activists, when they're speaking to each other, nobody should even say this word anymore.
You're blowing my mind right now, because that part of me is like, wow, you're blowing my mind. I mean, when I hear you say this, I'm like, yeah, like that makes so much sense. And then I'm like, stop saying meat. I almost feel like I did when people when I first heard about vegetarians, and I'm like, stop eating meat. like, what? You know, like that initial reaction, it's almost, but you make a good point. I mean, I was already sold on the word pet. And I think that that's the only reason I would use the word pet is if it just, I don't know, sometimes it just, you know, just, we're used to saying it, so it just rolls off the tongue. But like, I'm convinced that we are better off talking about these animals as companion animals and being,
Yeah.
you know, cause it's not a pet, like, pet, it's like a pet, like it makes it an inanimate object. I mean, what about that? Like just saying it, you know, we should be saying he or she, right? Or I mean, what do
Yeah,
you think
he
about
or
that?
she, they, he, she, they, not it.
Yeah, because it's not animals, I just said it right there, animals are not inanimate objects that we can
Yeah,
just buy and have to show, you know, and put them in a cage for the rest of the day and just only take
yeah,
them out when it's time to showcase or something like that.
yeah.
That's interesting. I think that's a very interesting topic. Anybody listening to the show, let me know. Send me a message or shoot me a tweet or something. I want to know what everybody has to say about what words. What do you think about the power of words in advocating for animal rights? And maybe if people could let me know what words we should change or how we should change, which words should we stop saying. I really want to know what everybody thinks about that. I think that's a good question. And I think you've made some valid point. I'm gonna yeah, stop saying meat. Oh, that one's got to sink in. But there's some truth there. Okay, so you go vegan. You sorry, we got sidetracked there. You were I don't want to sidetrack from your story because
That's fine.
where were you? Went vegan. You were, you know, you're starting to think more about the words. I guess that's how we got onto it. The term, or you're thinking back now and as to like, you know, retelling. But so where do you go from there when you know you've learned all this information? It takes you said it takes about a week to sink in. I found that as well. Like, you know, we hear this information. It does take time to sink in. It takes time to implement, to really process the information and to implement it. And I think that's a theme of your story, my story, everybody's story. Like some people say, okay, what about the word journey, right? That maybe that's relevant because some people say we should stop using the word journey. We should stop talking about baby steps. But in reality, that
Oh,
is what
yeah.
happens because people do have to walk down a path. But on the other hand, I understand the value in advocating for what we want and not being too apologetic and allowing people to get comfortable with, you know, taking a little step and saying, oh yes, I've done my part. So where do you, what are your thoughts on that?
I have thoughts on that. It was a journey for me because I didn't know the information. I think like me in my when I was in college, I was like, I grew up enough. I was an adult. If someone told me, hey, do you know that in egg industry, milk chicks are being ground up alive, and in milk industry, they impregnated cows over and over again just so that they can produce milk, I would go vegan. I would just kind of like think, I would think about it right away, and I would start transitioning to veganism, even though I didn't know about the word at that time. I might just, okay, I would just stop eating eggs and milk, even though I didn't know the word vegan, because I knew the information already. I didn't want to harm animals. But honestly, I feel like I sometimes don't understand people who knew the information, who are in the position of privilege. They have money, they can buy food, they eat, they have a comfortable place to live. They don't have any struggle in their life. I don't understand that when they know the information already, they just feel like they need to take baby steps or take this long journey of 1 year before they stop being a part of a system that exploits animals. Like they have the power to do so. They have money to buy tofu. You know, maybe tofu is not expensive in Thailand, but maybe it's expensive somewhere else. Yeah, I don't understand those people, and I think maybe it sounds unfair a little bit because people have like different contexts and different conditions in their lives, and maybe there are really something else that kind of like impedes them from going vegan right away. But that, yeah, I think it would depends on case by case basis. So, but that's how I feel. I would think that if you know the information, then it shouldn't be a long journey anymore. It shouldn't be baby steps anymore. It should be a big steps, because animals are being killed every day. And if you have the power to do so, at least just stop being a part of it. You might not have to start being a part of a solution, right? Like at the first time you heard about a problem, but you should try everything in your power to stop being a part of the problem. And I just trying to be clear here. I'm talking about people who have money, who have power, who have the privilege to live a vegan lifestyle. And I'm not talking about like working class people who have to think about feeding their families, like earning enough money just to live another day. That's different. That's a different story for them. They have to think about something else. And I will totally understand that if like living a vegan lifestyle is not that priority at this time.
I think what you're talking about is having empathy for people, right? Like understanding their situations and where they come from, and if they're in a position where they're literally grinding, all day to provide for their families, and they're living in, if they're not in a position where they're able to prioritize doing all the research to make sure that they can, or maybe financially they just couldn't even afford it. But let's just, I'll play devil's advocate here, because a lot of people would say, anybody can be vegan. Everybody has a responsibility. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're a human on this planet, you're privileged enough to say, I'm not going to participate in animal exploitation. What would your response be to that?
I would say that that's not true. I mean, there's so many factors that contribute to a vegan lifestyle. I'm a strong believer that you need to live like a fairly comfortable life in order to be able to like live a vegan or plant-based lifestyle. It's not something that anybody can do, which is so sad, because everyone should have access to healthy food. But at least in Thailand, this is the fact. Meat is cheaper than fresh fruits and vegetables. And cow's milk, which should be so expensive because it takes a lot of resources to produce cow's milk. Like, it's just so cheap compared to other kinds of plant milk. So I don't think that's true at all, that anybody can be vegan and anybody has a responsible to be vegan. Okay, I just feel like if you can, you have a responsible to do that. But we just have to acknowledge that there are a group of people who cannot. And because of the system that, because they are working class, they are being oppressed from the system as well, the very same system that oppressed animals, and they just can't do it.
Yeah, this is something I think about a lot, and I'm not completely decided as to my opinion on this. I kind of ebb and flow between, like there's probably a very, very small amount of people on the planet who like couldn't do it. And then I'm like, but really, like how many people could do it? And like, how many people couldn't? And like, where do you draw that line of like, who is just like, at what point do you say, oh yes, you're privileged enough that you should be vegan, and oh, you're not privileged enough, so you don't have to be vegan. I don't know how to draw that line.
I don't know if we should say that. I don't know if we should think about it that way. I don't know if we should think about, okay, so I'm just gonna cut you some slack because you're too poor. And right. I don't think that's the way we speak about it. But I mean, like when we advocate, we have to choose the audience. And we have to set a reasonable expectation as well. Does that answer the question?
I do. Yes and no, because what does a reasonable expectation look like? What is a tangible way to describe what does a reasonable expectation tangibly look like?
Okay. So I don't think that's the question that can be like, there's no one size fit all answer.
It's a tough question.
But I would say, like, if you so I would draw the line here. So if you're educated, you're privileged enough to, maybe someone sent you to study abroad, and so have enough money to comfortably eat in restaurants, expensive restaurants, every now and then, once a week, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times a week, or every meals. Yeah, then you are in the privileged position to choose not to be a part of the system that exploits animals. So yeah, you are in that position already. So you should choose to not be a part of the problem. But
The problem I have with that, just to push back, is like, I think the thinking that you're using, like, on the one hand, I completely agree that we need to have empathy for people in their situations. On the other hand, I feel like there are so many people who use the difficulty of being vegan as the reason not to be vegan, and they push back and they'll say things like, they'll sort of play the victim in terms of saying, like, "Ooh, I don't have, I'd love to go vegan, but I don't have the money. Or I'd love to go vegan if it was just too expensive. I'd love to," like, they'll say these things, but they just won't know that actually they could. Like, people think and I think it's tricky, because there are people, I think, who are, as you say, because of, I think it's important to mention, likely government subsidies are at play, right?
mm-hmm.
To make meat and dairy cheaper. So if we could have a level playing field, the cheapest diet would be the healthiest diet, right? It would just be a vegan. That would be the most expensive, least expensive, most affordable diet would be plants if government subsidies weren't at play. That's something that I think is generally true across the board for most of the world. I don't know all the nuances of every country, but apparently government subsidies are a big problem in terms of making that playing field level as to what is affordable. But I mean, forget about that. There are people who are in situations where they think that they can't go vegan because they've been told veganism is expensive or this or that reason. And so I worry that by saying there are some people who are privileged enough and there are some people who are not privileged enough, that, like, but on the other hand, I'm like, it's a tricky one, because I understand the concern, and I understand that there are some people who can and some people who can't. But my real issue is, like, we have a huge percentage of people who have this idea that veganism is expensive, and they're using it as excuses. And I think the vast majority of people saying these things, if we were to actually realistically look at them, they are actually they would be able to afford it. They would be okay. I don't know. Would you disagree with that, or do you think that?
No, I wouldn't disagree with you, but I don't think so they are the problem. The problem is not the problem is not the thinking, like, the problem is not the empathy towards poor people, low income people, or working class people who can't afford the lifestyle. The problem is not empathy towards them. The problem is the people who actually are privileged enough or are in the position to afford vegan lifestyle, but use that as an excuse, right? So we shouldn't attack. We shouldn't attack the empathy that some people have towards people, low income people who can't actually afford vegan lifestyle. It should go towards people who use that as an excuse, because it's like an insult to people who would like to stop eating animals but just can't do it because they don't have enough money. They just have other things to care about. They just have to feed their family, and it's just more affordable to buy animals flesh from the market and feed the whole family.
So your whole point in this, this topic, bringing this up, you mentioned, is about considering our audience, right? That's really what it's about. Is it saying, like, as animal advocates, as animal rights advocates, we should take this into consideration? Like, let's forget about where that line is, who should be, forget about that. The audience should be mainly people who we know are for sure in a position of privilege, and we should be focusing our energy on those people because maybe they have the financial, they have the buying power, or they have whatever it is. Like, is that how you think about this? Is that we want our audience to be those kinds of people?
I'm not sure I'm not sure that the way I would talk about it, because that would sound like an insult as well. That would sound like, I think that, oh, working class, low income people is not in the level to understand
Yes.
animal suffering. No, that's not what I mean at all. I feel like every human being, regardless of their class, regardless of their level of income, they have the empathy, they have compassion towards animals. So I would think that when we don't have to choose our audience when we talk about animal suffering, but the expectation, I think that it's kind of fair to like expect less from people who are oppressed or who don't have that much power to change their
I see.
lifestyle. But when we talk to people who are in the position of power, who have privilege, I think it's fair to have high expectation on them. And but
Well
that's
said.
tricky as well, because sometimes you can't always tell how much power and how much privilege they have just by looking at them, right?
Of course,
So
yeah.
that's tricky as well. So I think that would depends really on case by case basis.
Hmm.
And I don't think I know a lot. I know enough to actually give you the answer at this time. But that's my take, like at this point.
I really like how you summarized it there, is that, we can, I, I think the whole point, is to help people understand, what are the different mechanics at play in terms of how can we create change? How can we create a world where people are starting to consider animal rights? How can we bring this into reality in terms of, it is happening, like there's more plant-based options, there's more people talking about veganism, there's seems to be a wave of animal rights activism, there's good stuff happening. But what you said there, just in terms of helping us frame our expectations, right? I think it's reasonable to sort of expect, as you said, difficult as it may be to tell who's privileged, who's not, but just sort of in general, like how can we, what can we expect of different kinds of people in different classes, right? Or in different life situations. And if we don't, sorry, my brother's just walking in here. What's up, Bill?
I'm just getting set up for later, Jay. Sorry, man.
Okay, cool.
How you doing?
Yeah, good. Just doing an interview. No worries. So I just kind of lost my train of thought there. Sorry, because you came in. So, but I think what you're coming out with is a good point, right? Like the, the expectations that we can have. How can we, as animal rights activists, understand the impact that we may be having and the way that people might be reacting to what we're saying, right? How can we understand why people are reacting in a certain way or not reacting? Like what happens if I talk to somebody and why aren't they understand? Like, I think this helps us to understand some people who, like if we look at slaughterhouse footage, or we look at really graphic footage, right? Like some people will look at that. And I think what happens is, because they're in their life situation is like, they've got so much on their plate. There's just no way they could, I don't know, act upon it. Like they're just not ready for any more trauma in their life, or whatever reason is, they're not ready to look at it. I think that that's part of understanding why people might do that. It's not because they're heartless and they're not human. It's literally just because they're already struggling and they can't, like, look, it's, if you don't have your own needs met, I think it's fair to say it's more difficult to consider the needs of others, right? If you don't have food on your plate, if you've got pain and suffering, and maybe you're being abused yourself, who knows what is causing people to be suffering. If you're trying to, look after yourself and get your own needs met, I think it can be difficult to extend compassion to others. But I don't want to put words in your mouth. I mean, I don't know. Would you agree with that, or what are your thoughts on how I put things there? I mean, I don't know if I'm capturing the essence of what you're.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So yeah, this is a topic that I'm always really fascinated by. Yeah, I think that if we can talk about how we're advocating, what the kind of activism we're doing, how do you think about creating change? I mean, if we talk about in Thailand, if we could get specific, because obviously I've spent a lot of time in Thailand, love Thailand, I've done lots of activism and stuff in Thailand. You know, what do you see in terms of Thai culture, veganism? How's it being received? What is being done to sort of bring this conversation, you know, to Thai culture, Thai people? Give us a sort of state of the union as to like, where is Thailand at with veganism? What do you see?
Okay. So I would say that so speaking of cuisine, just the way we eat already, it's actually originally and largely plant-based. We didn't eat a lot of animals' flesh and dairy until recently, not more than 100 years ago, I'm sure. So Thai culture and Southeast Asian cuisine is consists largely of plants, and they would eat a little eggs and fish. I mean, that's sad, but yeah, I mean, so Thai cuisine in general doesn't consist a lot of animals products. I say that again. Doesn't consist of products.
Yes, at least you caught yourself. I mean, that's one thing I really like about Thai cuisine is that there are all these accidentally vegan, you know, desserts and stuff like that, which is really nice.
Yeah. So the way that we eat today, I mean, not Thai people eat today, it's influenced by Western culture. Like the milk and like meat. I don't want to say meat. Milk and animals' flesh in the food is influenced by Western culture. And in Thailand, if you have been in Thailand, I mean, Jason, you know about this already. J food. So J, it's a kind of like, I'm not sure if I understand and can describe this very well because I'm not a part of their subculture. And I don't want to be insulting, but here's what I understand from J culture. So in Thailand, there's this group of people who adopt this particular diet that is very similar to veganism, but apart from products that come from animals, they would abstain from eating 5 kinds of vegetables that have pungent smell. Don't ask me what are those vegetables because I don't remember.
It's like garlic. It's like garlic and some other ones, right?
Garlic is one of them, but I can't remember other things.
By the way, you just did a good job. You said products which come from animals, so you're making a change.
Thank you. Yay.
Yeah.
And yeah, they would have, so apart from the diet, they would have a lifestyle that is kind of like more religious. So they would, I'm not sure I know enough to talk about this, but then they will have like principles that they have to hold on to, which is influenced by their religious beliefs. And yeah, I think that's what I know about them at the moment.
Yeah.
But every October, I think it's October, like early October,
or
October, like that.
October or September. Some years it depends on
September. You know more than me. Thank you.
There were well, sorry, I'm getting ahead, but you're talking about the festival, right? The Thai vegetarian festival, the J festival, right? Which is
which is the time of year where a lot of people, like I wouldn't say the majority, but like at least 20% of the population will adopt like this J diet. I wouldn't say vegan because it's not vegan. A J diet for 10 days, 7 days. I'm so ignorant about this, but okay, 10 days. Let's just
I think it's
10 days.
I think it's
10, right? Thank you, Jason.
I don't know either. I'm not sure. I think
for 10 days because they think it's a good thing to do. They think like, oh, not eating animals is good. It's just like giving them lives, something like that. I mean, okay, the way I speak about it, I just would like to apologize, but the way I speak about it is very like condescending. I should stop doing that. I'm sorry, but yeah, the way people do it is because so they would stop eating animals and any products that come from animals for like 10 days because they think it's a good thing to do and they think this is good for animals. Mm-hmm. And after the period of 10 days, it's over, they will just come back and eating animals again.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating in a way. It's fascinating because in that period, so I've heard that slaughterhouse would kill significantly fewer animals. I've actually heard from a slaughterhouse worker that they would kill significantly fewer animals during this J period. But then after that, it would just come back to normal again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like how I think about right now. I mean, all the meat industry, all the meat, like it's with COVID and stuff, you know, a lot of meat, they call them the food processing plants, and they've got all these names to say, but really it's slaughterhouses or, you know, cutting up animals into pieces and all that. But that all slows down right now. And then it's like, oh, well, this is like good, but not good. Like I don't know if it all goes back to normal. That's the issue I have with Tesakan Ginjay, right? Like the Thai vegan, or not vegan, we'll say that the Thai J festival. It's just back to normal. So that's I've done outreach during that time. Like I've tried to speak to people who are doing this J eating, and I've done some interviews with people in Thai, and I've sort of, you know, tried to press on this point. It's like, oh, do you think it's good that we're doing this? Oh yeah, it's great for the animals. I was like, oh, like, yeah, it's this great thing. And then I'm like, so what do you think about doing this every day? What do you think about, you know, considering the rights of animals 365 days a year, you know? And I struggle with that. I guess people are okay to do it for a short term, but for long term, I mean, I guess it comes back to their sort of religious system, right? There's a certain story as to why they do it for these 10 days, right? I don't know exactly do you know what the reason is? Like I guess it's kind of irrelevant,
idea.
It's maybe irrelevant to the conversation, but I think it's the point being it's religious belief, right? It's not, it may be good for animals, but it's not really about animal rights from what I understand, right? It's more of
I'm not sure I know a lot about them that I can speak, but yeah, I think you're kind of right. It's about animals as well, because they would say that they care about animals. That's why they stopped eating them for 10 days. But it doesn't, so the thing about this J festival is that it doesn't challenge people to really think about their behavior, their eating behavior, and their own value. I mean, I think it's good. I think it's good that what they do. It certainly doesn't help animals at all, because even though they're not killed in that period of 10 days, they are being eventually killed, you know, and like the numbers of animal that is killed, like overall, is not reduced by 10 days of people not eating, like 20% of the population not eating them. It doesn't help. So what really helps is that we have to change the perception of people. And I don't think J Festival does that. It doesn't challenge people to think about their behavior at all. It doesn't challenge people's perception towards animals, farm animals that are exploited for food, entertainment, whatever. So I mean, it's sad to say this, and it might sound like I'm really mean, but I don't think it moves. I don't think it moves forward to the place where animals will not be exploited at all. I've been thinking about this a lot, and I don't see how it helps. Yeah.
I would add on that it could be inhibiting it, because what it's doing is it's allowing people a short period of time to feel good about doing something that to them they could view it as doing something compassionate to animals, right? I'm doing this thing for 10 days. I'm doing such a good deed during this time. I'm going to get an endorphin rush of doing this good deed. And then because I've done this good deed, oh, wow, I'm so much better than most people, because most people don't even do that. And now I have the right to go back to exploiting animals as per usual. And it sort of almost just normalizes and perpetuates the system. So, I mean, I think that's right. Like, okay, so maybe the slaughterhouses slow down for a few days, and maybe the overall numbers for the whole year are a little bit lower because of those 10 days. But is there any ideological shift happening towards a world that is really any friendlier to animals? No. Or shows any more justice to animals? It doesn't really, right? It's not really helping the long-term
Yeah,
gain.
that's how I would think. I still would like to believe that there will be some people who manage to make the connection during that 10-day period and then stay vegan for the rest of their life
Right.
after that.
Yeah.
I haven't met that person yet, but I would like to meet them soon.
Well, I think
I just
it's,
hope there will be some. Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's, I mean, because I mean, like I want to know all about, just going back to Thailand in general. I think it's important that, and I didn't even really think of this, but I think it's really important that we sort of clarified what that J festival is and what J food is, because in a lot of Thailand, if you want vegan food, guess where you're going? You're going to the J restaurant, right? Because that's the only place really where, I mean, unless you make your own food or something, that you can have a conversation and they'll understand what you mean when you say, I don't want animal products in my food and that kind of stuff. Or
animal products.
I got it. When I don't want to eat products from animals, products that come from animals.
That's good.
I mean, hey, we're just talking about English. I mean, never mind the translation issues that might come up if you're some, foreigner in some rural, some far off, town in Thailand where they don't understand that. That's a real language barrier, right? I mean, we're just talking nuances here, but it is important. I agree. So there's this whole J eating thing, J festival thing in Thailand. What else is, I mean, that's sort of been going on sort of forever, right? Like as long as Thai culture has been around. So that has always been a part of the culture, or a part of Thai culture. And it's something that people know about. It's perhaps a starting point for a conversation about animal rights, right? I think that's to your point of like, it's not all, I love what, like when the J festival comes along, I am so happy because it's so much like, it gives me hope for like what it could be like. Imagine if we just did this all the time, right? It's really a good, it's kind of it's an inspiring time. So there are actually a lot of good things about it. I don't want to seem like I'm making it, but I think the point remains that we need more than just this 10-day J festival. So what else has been happening in Thailand that's maybe, like I mean, I know there's vegan bakeries in Bangkok. There's some people are starting to put the word vegan on shirts and stuff. I'm trying to use the word vegan. I mean, how do you think about language, like Thai language? I mean, if we can talk about like the words, like, do you think that we should be, or we, I mean, like I say we because I'm creating content in Thailand and I'm trying to, be a part of this as well. But like, what advice would you give to me if I'm, coming in from the outside, or not just to me, is it from the outside, but I guess maybe it's two questions to Thai people or people in Thailand. How should we be speaking about it in Thai? Maybe we need to do a Thai podcast to go into that. But if you can, like, should we be translating the word vegan into the Thai language, or should we be talking about like how do you think about that?
You know what? That's a question I've been trying to answer for a long time and I still can't. Like, I don't know whether we should just use the word vegan, like the way it is, because it's a new term, right? It's a new term, and there's no Thai word that capture the meaning of vegan yet. And someone has been trying to encourage me to come up with a new Thai term that is not J, but that means vegan. But I just can't. I mean, I'm not an etymologist. No, like, is that the word? No, I'm not a linguist. I can't just come up with a new word and convince people to use that too. So I don't have the answer for that. But the thing about the word vegan is that it makes it sound foreign and just kind of like make people think that, oh, this vegan thing, it's only for foreigners or people who have been educated abroad, and that's why they have this westernized thinking in their head. It's not for me. I'm just a Thai person, not for me, something like that. So this is the downside of using the word vegan or veganism. Using J is not accurate either, because they're not, vegan and J are not the same thing. J, it's more religious thinking. And there's just a lot of things that are not aligned with veganism. I'm not thinking that J is bad or anything like that, but it just doesn't capture veganism.
It's
right?
not the same thing. It's a
not
different
the
thing.
same. And I'm not saying just to demean the value of J at all, but
Sure,
it's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
So at the moment, I think the best way is to use the word vegan because there are no other options. You know, I mean, the cons of it is that it would make it sound, this lifestyle sounds foreign and sounds like it's not for everyone, which is really sad because it's most people can be vegan. I'm not going to say everyone can be vegan, but most people can be vegan. But at this moment, I just can't find a solution or an alternative to the word vegan at this time. So I'm just using vegan just for the sake of convenience.
How does the term animal rights translate? Is that a term that's thrown around in Thai?
There's a term. Yeah. It's just like human rights. We just use the word rights and human, right? So for animals' rights, we just use the word rights and animals.
Yeah.
But when we speak about animal rights in Thailand, people usually think of wild animals, like animals that are a part that they think are like a part of ecosystem and that is important to preserve them. All companion animals, dogs, cats, something like that. So people would think about that more. Animal rights with animals that are farmed or exploited for food, entertainment. Yeah, it would not be the first thing that came to mind when people speak of animal rights in Thailand.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's good that you're giving it thought. I mean, it's important. I mean, as we said earlier with the English language, talking about the words we use in English and the words we use in Thai, it's something that I think about and I wonder because, I mean, just in the past few months, I've got all these Thai followers on TikTok. I've got like 150,000 followers, are like 90% Thai.
Yeah.
And they're all like make Thai videos. And I'm like I'm just putting out as much content as I can. A lot of it's in English because I mean, really, this is the core why. Like, I love making the videos in Thai, but I feel uncomfortable because it's not my native language. You know, I can really barely read and write. I mean, I'm trying to spend some time every day to improve that because I think there's value, especially if I do have a bit of a following, to start speaking about it. But that's why I'm really interested. So maybe I'll focus on using the term animal rights in Thai, obviously, and like talking about animal rights and making it clear that I'm talking about not only the animal rights of, you know, wild animals or companion animals, but I'm actually talking about animal rights of animals that are being exploited by humans. Like, does that sentence translate to Thai? You know,
Yeah,
like animal
absolutely.
rights of animals that are exploited. Like, is there what could we say? How would we say that in Thai? Could you? I mean, we could speak Put Thai Dai, no, we can speak a little bit of Thai. So how would you say that in Thai? Like, if we say, like, because some people ask me all the time, right? People ask me in Thai all the time, like, what do you do? Like, and like, really, like, what do I do? Like, I do so many different things, but I would like to say that I'm basically, I'm an advocate for animal rights. So I guess, like, how would I, or something like, I guess that's kind of what I do, right?
So you would use the word activist
Uh-huh.
for animal rights. That's
Activist.
how I would translate. Yeah.
How does that sound in Thai? Could you say it in Thai so I can hear it?
Yeah. Are you putting this on podcast as well, or
should I
are
not?
you just going?
Yeah, I want it on the podcast. Yeah,
no, because your audience is not Thai.
They could be. They could be.
Okay. It sounds real weird to be speaking English the whole time and just shift to Thai for like 2 words, but okay.
No, my pen and I. It's okay.
So
no worries.
So what would you like to say in Thai again?
So if I'm introducing myself, like I'm an activist for animal rights.
Okay. นักเคลื่อนไหวเพื่อสิทธิสัตว์
Not เคลื่อนไหว
เคลื่อนไหว like moving. So it's like a person in a movement for animal rights. นักเคลื่อนไหวเพื่อสิทธิสัตว์
นักเคลื่อนไหว
เคลื่อนนักเคลื่อนเคลื่อน
Gotcha.
เคลื่อนไหว
นักเคลื่อนไหว
เพื่อสิทธิสัตว์ so สิทธิ means rights เพื่อ like for สิทธิ rights สิทธิ means rights and สัตว์ animals
หนักเคลื่อนไหว
เคลื่อนไหว
เคลื่อน
เคลื่อน
หนักเคลื่อนหนักเคลื่อนไหวเพื่อสิทธิสัตว์
yes
Okay, thank you
yes
so much. And everybody
no
who's
problem
listening, who's an animal rights activist going to Thailand, practice that sentence, and they'll be kind of confused because you think they'd believe someone who says it? Maybe, I don't know. We'll see. But
yeah
I
it's
actually
not
no go
no, go ahead.
like if someone were to just pull that out in Thailand and say like introduce himself like that, what would the reaction from Thai people be? Like what would
It would depend on the audience.
yeah.
But most people would think like, really, there's the kind of job like this? Can you actually earn money? You get paid?
Right.
And what kind of like, so you advocate for like wild animals, something like that, something I told you before. But the reaction would not be what you would not be. Yeah, they would be curious about it.
Okay, so we've painted a bit of a picture of like what's it like in Thailand in terms of people, how might people react, how might people perceive kind of people who are doing vegan activism. I mean, there has been people doing vigils. There's been some stuff in the news. Maybe can you talk about some of the stuff that's been in the news? Maybe some of the conversations.
Oh gosh. It's bad for my friend because it was in the news, and I mean it's good that we get coverage, but some of our friends whose photo was on the news, so just people on the internet just kept digging his photo from like 2 years ago when he was eating animals fresh, and just kind of like use that picture when he was eating animals flesh, paste it together with the picture of him at the vigil, and just kind of like mock him for that. Mock him for eating animals like 2 years ago, and now he's fighting. But like I was like, what's wrong with that? People change, And it was really hard. It was really hard for us to see him being treated that way on the internet.
I didn't know about this. This is news to me, by the way.
Oh yeah, Mickey. It's Mickey.
Wow.
Yeah, Mickey is the one whose photo got digged up by some internet user and just kind of like tear him apart online. I mean, he doesn't care. He's very chill about it, but I just think it's terrible that people did that to another person,
Yeah, we're in that stage of ridicule though. People ridicule, I mean, the people who stand up for animal rights are just a joke, and so they're looking for ways of making jokes about it. Because it's still so people would, the main thing is that it's in the news though. I mean, there's other stuff that's been in the Thai mainstream. I mean, I know not really so much about animal rights, but a friend of mine who's passed away now, but he's like an older cyclist. He was in the news, and I think that was the first time they used the word vegan on Thai national TV, was in this like story about him. He was a Thai national cyclist, and then now he went vegan like the past 2-3 years, and he lost all this weight and like cleared up his heart disease. The doctor who was like he had all these heart attacks. He did pass away, unfortunately, but yeah, he was cycling. Yeah, but yeah, he's a legend. But yeah, an older time. I think when he passed away, he was 74. But he had been, cyclist his whole life. Went vegan the last few years. After
How
meeting.
old was he again? Sorry?
74 when he passed away. 74.
I heard 24. I was like, what? Okay.
No, 74. So he.
Okay.
So he passed away. But
oh no.
But the thing was, he was on a few years before he was on TV. He was on. They did this like profile on him, and he's talked all in Thai. I should send you the video so you can check it out. About his diet, and they use the word vegan, and like he's like, so what's vegan? And he's like, I think they even talked about like it's not J, it's like different from J. So I'll send you the video so you can check it out, and I'll
yes, please. I feel so bad not knowing about him.
Oh no, I feel bad not knowing about Mickey. This is good. This is like another benefit of doing the podcast, right? We get to catch up and exchange what's going on. But yeah, so I'll make sure I link both of these things in the show notes in case anybody wants to check it out. If there's maybe some link you can send me about the thing with Mickey.
I'm not sure if I can find it though. It's so long time ago.
Okay. That's okay. Or like just if there's any links that you maybe just if people want to check out like a news story or something, maybe we'll just try to find something to just sort of,
Okay.
because I know that there is stuff getting in the news, right, about activism that's happening. And
Yeah.
how is that being received? I mean, okay, so they're making fun of Mickey. How else, are there any other indications of how it's being received, amongst Thai people?
I mean, it's being received largely by negativity. I mean, it's really sad to say that. A lot of people just react towards it, like towards the story, like really harshly, I would say. They
Hmm.
say mean things about activists. They made some ad hominem comments about our friends. It's like, do you think you're so pretty? Something kind of like something nasty. I just thinking about it just makes me sad already. And saying something off the book, like it's my personal choice, or go back to your country. I think this is this is the worst part, like best part, worst part. Go back to your country because the majority of activism that day is white. I mean, it kind of made me think about the kind of activism that we do in Thailand, though. It's like we receive like a huge backlash. But after that, it made me think about activism like in a different light.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'd love to. I mean, we're gonna wrap it up here. I know I don't want to take up too much of your time, and we try to keep these podcasts digestible for people. But I feel like we've been,
Okay,
it's just so great.
too long.
I can go on forever, so please come back. We'll do another episode, and we can go. But no, I
Okay.
would like to hear about that though. Maybe as sort of a closing, for today. Is I think that segues nice. Is like I want to ask you. I mean, we've got a bit of an idea of where things are at. Where do you see
Okay.
things going? Where do you see activism in Thailand, vegan activism in Thailand? Where would you like to see that going?
Sure. So the way I see it right now is that it's being led largely. I mean, it was being led by some westernized thinking, a lot of white people, and I love my white friends. No offense at all, but I think we as Thai people have to own this movement in Thailand. And we just need more activists. We just need more Thai people being active, speaking about it. There's just a lot of people who lead vegan lifestyle, but they're not active at all. And it would be great if my Thai friends and I can invite them to become more active and be activists as well.
What does that specifically look like in Thai culture? Like what kinds of activism do you think are going to be like strategically? Like, I mean, we've done Cube of Truth events in Bangkok. There have been vigils going on. There is Ajahn Tom with his leaflets that are in almost every vegan restaurant around the country. There's all kinds of stuff happening. So, I mean, do you just say it's all good, whatever any person thinks is good, they should do it? Or do you think that certain things might be more effective in Thailand?
Okay, so we are at the very early stage of activism in Thailand, and I don't think I have enough information to come to that conclusion yet. So I think we should try every way. It would be great if we try to do disruption as well. We don't have enough people to do that yet. So all kinds of things we just have to try. Like putting leaflets in day restaurants for people who are not vegan yet to maybe consider Cube of Truth kind of event. It's good as well because it gets a lot of attention. Yeah, we just have to try all kinds of things and see what works here.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's so great to see you, Mickey, everybody else who is, taking, Fawn, Sita, like, man, everybody in Thailand who is, being a part of this. Like I'm in the Vegan of Thailand, right? Is a Facebook group. I don't know if you're in that group. That's another good group, but like, it's really cool seeing people, getting into veganism and to see it, happening in a country that is like, to me, I see in Canada, we have way more numbers of people who are vegan, who are active. Like it's a bigger, it's like further down the road, as you say, it's still a very kind of new, small movement in Thailand, people who are really vegan activists. And I think that Yeah, that's the wise approach, I think, is to like, let's try a bunch of different things, because I think every culture is different. Like we could do a whole podcast on the differences between, you know, Thai culture and Canadian culture, and the activism, the way to most effectively bring people together, or, you know, advocate. Maybe that's not bringing people together. Maybe it means something else, but the most effective way, I think, is yet to be seen, even still in everywhere. Like we're still learning, even in countries where activism is really far along, we're still learning about what works and what doesn't work. Right. So it's just about, I think just going with, I saw a really good document. Have you seen The Animal People?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that documentary.
What's your reaction? Just give me your reaction to that documentary. I would love to.
Angry. I like when that person from what's the name? Huntington Life Science, like that. I don't know. I don't remember his like title anymore, but when he was speaking about how animals don't don't think about future, and they just feel pain at the moment, and how it's justified to like exploit them in the lab, I just would like to throw glasses at him. I was angry. I get angry very often. I think that's a good feel, but yeah, my reaction is that angry, and I just feel sad for these young activists that are being thrown into jail for doing nothing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Sad, angry, and just feel like I just have to do more. You know, learn more, educate myself more, and be more effective. And be more angry.
Yeah, you're doing great work. Wich, keep up the good work.
Thanks.
You are honestly such a huge inspiration to me, like just seeing all the stuff that you do. And
thank you.
And you just, I mean, this whole interview we just did, I think there's a lot of people who are going to get inspired by your story, and by the way that you look at things. You look at things with such a, you know, I can really tell that you're being conscious of the way that you think about things, the way that you speak about things, you know, really thinking about what is right, you know, what is right and just, and what is, what is it that needs to be done to move things forward. And you've obviously got the fire and the passion and the drive, and that, you know, I know that's, you know, anger is a good thing. It's just harnessing it. And it sounds like you're doing a pretty good job of keeping it and putting that anger to good use. Cause you, you come off, you're very well spoken, the way that you speak about it in English. I know that, I'm sure the way you speak in Thai is even more hitting. So you know what I want to see I want to see more content. Can you put out more videos, please? Like I don't know. I know you're putting out videos, but where can people follow you? Of course, we want to let people know, like if people want to, you know, look at some of the, if there's any social media, like are you putting out any personal content or videos, and where can people follow you?
Yeah, so I used to made a Facebook page in Thai, like it's in Thai because I would like to reach Thai audience, but I had such a big trauma and I decided to take a break for a moment. But if you still would like to follow and see my past videos, you can look up on Facebook. It's called, I even forgot the name. I think it's called Wich, a Thai activist.
Yes.
Maybe I can send you the link later.
We will put the link in the show notes for sure.
It's just in Thai, and if you use Google Translate, you will see a video with a lot of nasty comments. And yeah, just to save yourself from trauma, just don't read it.
Man, people can be just, but you got to understand though, people, the reason they're putting it on you is because they're conflicted, right? That's, you know, that's where it comes from, right?
I just hope that, I hope that's the case. Yeah.
You know, like this is the one thing that I would like to, I would like to say to you, because I see your anger. I see the frustration, and like, you know, looking at like what that guy said from Huntington Life Sciences in The Animal People. And like, just, I understand, like, it's so easy to get mad at people, but just remember, you know, people are brainwashed, and people are trying to stick to their stories, and they're just doing anything they can to just throw anything they can at people who are speaking up for the things that you're speaking up about. And it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. And you just gotta find a way to let that go, because I hate to see people, not being able to do what they're good at and what they're effective at doing for speaking up for the animals because of the hate that all of us vegan activists get at some point. So I hope that, I hope that you're, if you ever need somebody to come into the comments, let me know, or like make a response video. I'll come and back
Hey,
you up.
thank you.
But you shouldn't be worried anyways. I hope that you're strong. You got the courage to keep fighting, and don't let the haters get you down too much. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Awesome.
Right.
Wich, thank you
Wow.
so much for coming on to the podcast today. I hope you come back. Do you want to come back and do another episode sometime? What do you think?
Sure. But may I suggest that we invite other Thai activists to be on the podcast as well? Is that a thing you do?
Please. Actually, you know what my dad said last night? I'm so glad you said that. My dad said last night, he was like, you know what you should do at the end of each podcast? You should ask each guest who to nominate some people for the podcast.
Okay.
So give me some nominations. Who should I have on the podcast?
I would like to nominate all Thai activists that so I can give names already. Fawn, Tita, Nikki, Nana. These are the ones that I'm the most active, and I can think of the names from the top of my head at the moment. But I think it would be interesting to maybe interview them individually, or just have them sitting down together. I mean, not together, but together virtually, and have a group discussion. Because my description of the Thai culture might be different from how they think about it, and I'm sure they will have another interesting perspective to offer as well.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, if they're all on the list. They are all definitely on the list. So we'll get more interviews with Thai activists on the Vegan Champion podcast and elsewhere. If you guys want to check out Wich and her videos, we'll put the links in the show notes. And make sure that you look into the work that she's doing, because obviously Wich is a huge advocate for the animals, doing very, very important work. And I just can't say enough how much I appreciate all the work you do, and really appreciate you coming on. So thank you so much. And we'll see you next time, hopefully.
Thank you, Jason, and enjoy the rest of your day.